I'm going to show you this video right now and talk a little bit about what a critique is, and you'll see this guy, Bruce Gilden, who is going to critique photos. And the reason why I show this video is because it's kind of how I critique video or photos. It's how I think about them. It's how, if you go on to art school, most critiques will happen. So again, let's go ahead and take a look at this video.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use.
My name is Bruce Gilden, and I'm a photographer. I was born in Brooklyn, but you could probably hear me talk and know that right away. I started.
Okay, so what he's going to do is, it's just a single guy critiquing photos. And it's kind of what our critiques will be like, except that in our critiques, I will ask you for your input as well. You don't have to go on video and record a critique of stuff, but what he says, you could type in for the photos. And I would like you to choose some photos and give your opinions. And when I say give your opinions, you're going to see how he talks about photos. It's going to be the same way I talk about photos. It's how people critique photos.
Photographing in 1968. I've been a member of Magnum Photos for a decade, and last year I was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship. I do close-up.
A Guggenheim Fellowship is a big deal in photo. That's like you are a treasure. So, and it's funny because Bruce Gilden is an interesting guy, and we'll actually see his work later. But he's irreverent. Well, again, I'll let it go.
Portraits of people on the street with a flash. To me, beauty is everywhere, especially on the street where characters seem to live. Now I'm going to look at some of the pictures you submitted and tell you what I think, because some guys from Vice thought it would be a good idea. This is Take It or Leave It with Bruce Gilden. Okay, you ready? Let's go.
All right, which one do we want to focus on first?
No, I can't discuss a picture like this. I mean, there's no, what this, I mean, come on. That would be insulting to me.
So he says he can't even discuss them. And what he's saying is there's no depth to these images. These are personal photographs. They don't fall in the range of sort of the art discourse. And you can see here, this means that would be insulting to me. That, and it's not that they're necessarily bad photographs. It just means that they're of a personal nature that doesn't cross over into the world of ideas, the world of, okay, I'm going to put this out for other people to see. And when I say to make an artistic photograph or to make it in the art world, that's what it is. It's about putting it into the world of ideas.
Or that, I mean, you know, this one neither. That one's just something out of focus that you take when you're rewinding your roll. What if you had 100 like this? You know, there's strength in numbers. I don't think that.
So what I loved about that moment is he looks at this and goes, oh, this is a crappy photograph. But then he goes, but wait, what if? And so that to me is where the dialogue begins.
But I find myself saying that a lot in workshops. Well, if you did 50 like this, you know, maybe you'll have a book or a body of work. I mean, that's where the concept comes in. I'm not for, you know, concepts that aren't realized well. Now, in this picture, I love the guy's hat. I like the expression on his face. I just find that it's totally out of focus. And it looks like something that could have been from a movie, you know, The French Connection or something, okay? So it has credibility from that standpoint, but as a photograph, it doesn't have much credibility for me because it looks like an accident. And I like accidents in photographs, but accidents that go along with something that isn't an accident. Like there's a conscious way of how one works. And then you have the accident.
So I'm sorry to keep stopping, but what you see here is he's no longer really talking about the image. What he's talking about is an idea, and an idea of making work and how to proceed. And this image, while it is what it is, it alludes to sort of the bigger thing. And that's what a critique is about. Okay, we have this image, but it makes me think about this. And it's not that that image is going to get any better, but it's like, okay, so if you're going to make this type of image, or here is something that functions in this way, how does that relate to other images or things that you might want to do? So it starts to become about the ideas, not about the specific thing. And again, I'll spend more time on that when we get to the critiques.
Most times spoils that picture, but in this instance makes it work. So when I look at this, I don't know if the photographer wanted to take this, you look, or it's just a total accident, and it's not that good anyway, okay? So next, this photograph here, let me start by saying that it's not a very good photograph. This would be very hard, unless it was perfectly done, to be a good photograph. Not only is the picture not formed well, because as you see here, you have the gun here and then there's nothing over here. I mean, it's just empty, dead space. But the other thing is there's a line by the philosopher Santayana that says, if you don't know anything about history, I'm paraphrasing, you're condemned to repeat it. And this photographer obviously doesn't know much about history, because there's a very famous, well, a photograph by William Klein from his New York book with a little kid in Brooklyn that has a toy gun to his head, and he's making a face like this. And he's cross-eyed, so he looks a little bit different, okay? And if you knew that picture, you could learn several things. You could learn from the composition of that picture, which is much better than this, even though that's not one of my favorite William Klein pictures. So you would know how to form this picture better. And also you would know that if you're going to do something that's evocative of a pretty famous photograph in 20th century documentary photography, you have to do better. Next, let's go to this one. Okay, I like photographs where you make up a story. When you look at the image, the viewer wants to make up a story. So in this particular image, which is, I think is relatively well done, it could have.
Okay. So he's going to talk about this image, and I don't agree with everything he says, but what is interesting about this photo is what he just said. He likes photos that sort of tell a story. Now, we can look at photographs in a number of ways. The two most common are that they make you, well, that they tell a story, that they're what's called narrative. You look at this and you sort of get a story, either about the specific people in it, or it alludes to sort of a bigger metaphor, or it operates in the world as sort of this, you know, the same way that fables would operate, or, you know, things like that. So, you know, that there's a narrative format to it. We can also look at images in what's called a visceral way, which they just make us feel something. You know, they make you happy, or they make you sad, or they make you cringe, or they make you anything. That's sort of a visceral response. Sometimes they can have both. They can be a narrative that leads to a visceral response, or vice versa. So there's not a single way to look at images, and there's not a single answer to this. So what you're getting is his take on this image. And when you make things and you put them out in the world, you cannot control what people are going to bring to it. Everybody has different backgrounds. And, you know, it's part of the problem with political correctness, in that not everybody has the same background. Not everybody has had the same experiences. Not everybody views the world the same. Therefore, you can't sort of impose this, well, when you do this, it means this. When people do this, this is what it means. You know, that is the hard part. But again, I'm sort of overriding this video. So let me go back to it.
A little better. I am not sure if I like that he has an apple in his hand. I think if he didn't have the apple, and he has a little schmutz on his face here from eating the apple. But the story here for me is you have a fairly attractive woman right here, and here's an older, lecherous type man, who he desires her, I would say, you know, to have some sort of intimate affair with her. And he doesn't realize that she's a sorceress, because you see in that apple, which she has given him, there's actually some sort of drug. And if you notice, there's a guy here lying in the back, totally unconscious or sleeping. He could be dead. I don't know what she had in the apple, but that was her victim before, because she's very used to having all these older men come on to her, because she's relatively attractive and she's a relatively nice person. So she's easygoing. She got tired of it. So he had eaten the apple, and this is what happened to him. Now, also, to have a good photograph, the details are very important. even though all the action is the older man looking at the younger woman and desiring her with his eyes, devouring her, I should say is a better word, and is the focus of the picture. Without the person lying here, your eye wouldn't go from this couple to him. Otherwise, it would just be sand and the picture wouldn't be as good. So that brings your attention back to the central point of the photograph. Okay, so even though that might not resonate with most people, that makes the picture better than if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes.
Now here we have somebody who's working in the street. It's not easy to do these kind of pictures. Take it from me, I was out there for God knows, most of my life. This one here, to me, is not organic, okay? Going from here to here to here to here, it's not very natural. It's not a picture that would make me want to look at it intently and ask what's going on, because I don't like how the picture flows. Now, this is not easy to do, and this person is talented, I believe, okay? And the thing is, here, which it works a little better in because the flow goes from here to here to here, which is nice that you have people in the background filling the frame, but yet the person in the back doesn't add to it. It takes away from this organic flow of going like this to there to there to there. No matter how complex the situation is, no matter what you've chosen to photograph, the viewer has to feel that it's organic, getting much closer here than here, but both of them aren't there. Now this one, I think, is a pretty good picture. It's monumental in its scope. This person here is, you know, you focus on him, he's there. You know, there's movement, his face is almost carved out of stone. He could be on Mount Rushmore. And then you go into this face, which is good. In that face, he has his eyes closed in the sun. It's very nice. I think the only improvement that I could have seen in the picture, which is out of really the photographer's control, is if this woman was in a different place. Because I think that's what I would have preferred, to not have her there at all. Because when you go to her face here, she takes away from this. So it's a little blip in the roadmap. But otherwise, I think it's a very good picture. And I'd like to see this printed very large. I like this picture. It's my favorite picture of the three, by far. Oh, the fire eater. This photograph makes me smile, okay? It's a photograph that a lot of people would take, whether you have any expertise in photography or not, because you have a one-line joke here, okay? It's ultimately not so funny. It's very obvious, and that's what the weakness in the picture is. Even though I smile, because who the hell is gonna ask and allow themselves to have a cigarette lit by this lighter here? I mean, look at that. That flame can catch your hair, burn your face. So then I start to think that she almost is drunk or stoned on drugs, okay? But yet the lady is very overweight, and yet her movement is quite balletic. She has a very nice movement, very nice flow. She flows into the flame. So that's all well and good, but for me, ultimately, it catches my eye, it's striking, but there's really not much in it. What does save the picture is, look at that flame, it's beautiful and it flows so lovely and it goes up. It's gorgeous, it's really nice. And her eyes being closed, of course you can identify that this is a Lions Club and you have the American flag. So it's a takeoff on America. This could be in a book of sarcastic photographs about America. America the Beautiful, or America, look at us Americans, aren't we ignorant, or something like that. So it has some value, but I don't rate it strongly as a photograph. Right there.
Yeah, that's good.
You can see that?
Yeah.
You guys are fucking cheating. All right, anyway. Obviously, this is not a very good photograph. This is about the lady's under her chin. And who cares about under her chin?
Something that was once done only by men.
Okay, so that's sort of a quick hit on a critique. That is, to me, what a critique is. So before I close, let me just say, you know, I would like you to go on to the critique groups, if not today or tomorrow, definitely Wednesday, Thursday, or over the weekend. I'll leave the critique groups up and add whatever it is you have to say. I prefer that you do it before Wednesday or Thursday so that we can see what other people have said as I go through them. But a critique is about giving your opinion, and it's not that your opinion is right or wrong. It's that it's something to consider. It's when you look at this image, what you think about it. And Bruce Gilden is not shy to say, the photo's too obvious. It's too simple. We see it all the time. It's what I'm yelling at you right now about your photographs. You don't care about the photographs you're giving me. I would venture to say most of you are playing it safe. You think that's what you're supposed to make for the class, or you don't really want to put out photos that you find that interesting. I don't know whether it makes you too vulnerable, but that's part of being an artist is saying, no, here's what I think, here's what I'm responding to, here's what I think is important, here's what I want to show other people, here's what I have to say. And that is the difficult part. What do you have to say? What is it that you want to put out and show the world? If you had if you had 30 seconds and your face was going to be broadcast around the world, what do you have to say? What is important to you? What is important for you to let other people know? That sounds a little grandiose, but that is how you should be approaching your photographs. What is it that I want to put out in the world? What is it that I have to say that I want to tell other people that I think? And you need to find that. I can't tell you what that is. I can tell you that your potted plants, your shoes, your dogs are not that thing. You may love your dog, but why would I love your dog? So unless you can make me love your dog through a photograph, I don't want to see your photograph. Unless you can make me understand something about the world through a photo of your dog, I don't want to see the photo of your dog. Unless it changes the way I think about the world or it makes me see something anew, it's just a photo of your dog. And so that is the hard part about making artwork. That's the hard part about making things for out to put up, to put out into the world to show people. And it's different, I mean, there are photos that are utilitarian. I shoot for bars and restaurants, I can make things look good. It's a pragmatic approach to photo. It's not artwork. And I know the difference. It is not artwork at all.